Welcome back, boss ladies.
Hey.
Season 3 with Monica L.
And your girl, Coach Kaya.
I'm Monica L., a boss lady.
You are.
Thank you. Cleveland born, LA raised, on a journey of freedom and happiness. As an educator, entrepreneur, self-published author, and poet, I believe all things are possible through synergy. Hit me up on IG, Monica L _ writer.
Come on. I love it. I'm your girl, Coach Kaya. I'm a boss wife, mompreneur, sister, writer, and certified transformational coach. I help people access their power, heal the trauma of their past, and reignite the miracles that actually matter today, right now, in this moment. And the reason I say that is because our desires change, and I change with my clients. I help you to figure out where you are now and where you want to go. But it starts with one moment at a time. My IG handle is at I am Coach Kaya.
Ooh, Coach Kaya, so well said. And make sure you reach out to her if you're looking for a coach. Do a discovery call. Don't be scared. We are here. We are love. We are light. We are here to support you. That is our true mission, your mental health and wellness. And today we're going to talk about boundaries, Coach Kaya. Let's just jump right into it.
And I know somebody has a PhD in boundaries. I'm not saying no names. Yes, we're going to talk about boundaries today. Yes. If you think about it, boundaries doesn't just focus on one area of your life. No. Boundaries encompasses your entire life experience. And today we're going to really talk about how that is, why that is. We want you to walk away from this episode understanding boundaries more, thinking about your own personal and professional boundaries, and also making clear decisions about what you want your boundaries to look like.
Yes. Now, I'll speak personally because y'all know me. I am an advocate for therapy, and boundaries was definitely a topic that I had to go over several weeks. And still, it is an ongoing process. If you don't have boundaries, you're just all out here. You don't know up from down. People are leading the way in your life. And that is not the Boss Lady Manifesto Journal. And we're going to talk more about that as well. But really knowing the importance of your well-being and your value. So, Coach Kaya, how do you address boundaries with your clients?
Well, one thing I can tell you about boundaries is that it means something different to everyone. And it also has a lot to do with how you grew up. If you grew up with no boundaries, people expect you to turn into an adult with boundaries. And how do you think that works?
Fail.
Exactly. It's a fail. It's a fail. And I think it's sad because some people don't intentionally disrespect your boundaries, but they never had boundaries. And so we're asking for a lot.
Right.
And often in our relationships, we just hope it kind of works out. We're just like, if I'm nice and I'm respectful and I don't call them at 3:00 in the morning, then they should be nice and respectful and not call me at 3:00 in the morning. And unfortunately, that's not how it works.
That is definitely not how it works, especially in these LA streets being single. It is not how it works. Nope. You really have to teach people how to treat you.
Yes.
Regardless of how they treat themselves and others.
And sometimes regardless of how you treat them.
Facts.
Right. So when I'm working with someone, the first thing that I like to do, Monica L., is I like to just ask them, what do your boundaries currently look like? Because it's very important to know where you are now and to own it. Because so many times we're like, I want this and I want that. And my vision is this and my vision is that. But it's important to focus on, where are you today? How does your life actually reflect your boundaries? Do you have a pattern of people just disrespecting you? You are the common denominator. Do you have a pattern of people not listening to your yeses or your nos? You are the common denominator. And so we go there. What does it look like? Okay. We know where we want to go. We have an idea where we want to go, but it's important to know, what does it look like today? And to be really honest about that, you have to tell the truth about where your boundaries are in order to change them.
Right. Because, honestly, I felt like I did not have boundaries in certain relationships. and was a people pleaser. And, a lot of times you're just inherit that, or you feel like you need to, whether your environment was not safe or you feel like you didn't have a voice, and so, like you say, you carry that on to adulthood, which we could be talking about in the workplace where people don't respect your time. If they send an email at 2 a.m., they think you should respond at 6 a.m., or like you say, even in personal relationships where people think they can call and come over at any time because you know who they are, or maybe what titles they hold, are making you feel like you're less than. So, yeah, you really have to look at that and really evaluate yourself. And for some people, that's the hardest thing to do, is to actually look in the mirror and see their true self, not the one we like to tell ourselves, like, oh, I'm this, I'm that. But who are you really? And how does that show up? Because you know what? People can see the true you, even with your mask on.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. That's pause for the cause. And this is a conversation we want you to know that is seeped in love. We're sharing from our own experiences.
Absolutely.
We're sharing from a place of authenticity. We're sharing from a place of people who constantly have to set boundaries. And then guess what? Reset them.
Right.
It's not a one and done process.
Right.
So we are here to walk you through that process and support you, and also to acknowledge you for even being willing to have this conversation with yourself, with us, with someone that you care about, with your therapist, all of that. So this is the conversation about boundaries. And so I want to give you an example of what it means to not have boundaries that are reflective of what you really want to experience in life. Work. It gets really hazy with the cell phone situation. A lot of times they don't want, certain organizations don't even want to give you a personal cell phone because it's like, it's your cell phone. We're all on video conferencing. It's very like, yay, yay, yay. But all of a sudden people are on your personal cell phone that you pay for, even if there's a reimbursement program. So that means that they may not be work hours on that cell phone. That's a cell phone. Your cell phone is your personal cell phone. It's your business cell phone. It's your cell phone. It's on. Right. And so it's very important that you're intentional right away about something that may seem so small and significant in the beginning that can lead to somebody, your work, calling you all hours of the night, calling you outside of your morning working hours, calling you, texting you, oh, this project came in, this came in. It's important that you know what a true emergency is. Everybody has different professions, right? If you're a surgeon, if you're an OB, if you're a doctor, it depends. There are certain situations in your career where you are on call 24 hours, and you need to be clear about that. But there are other situations where you are not on call for 24 hours. It is just more convenient for people to have access to you. So we want you to start thinking about that right away. I mean, from the very beginning, as soon as you say yes, you enter into this new relationship, personal, professional, think about, what are my hours? Am I comfortable with you having access to me 24 hours? Is it more of I'm going to make sure that I consciously only talk to you during work hours? Am I sending an email? Am I using your personal cell phone? Because once you start calling someone on their personal cell phone, they're going to call you back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it works both ways. And so I think it's just important for us to be conscious of that. We all come to this boundary situation from different perspectives. We all have different levels of boundaries that we need to set. But I think it's important to just be conscious of it. Every time you take an action, you are also setting a boundary, because you have to live by your own words, or else people will not respect you and they will not follow your boundaries. If you say one thing and do another, you broke your own boundary.
Ooh, Coach Kaya, I love that. And very, very relatable. In my industry, I was very, very adamant about no on my cell phone. Now I do have a very close circle that I call my team. And if there's an urgent matter, urgent meaning something came up and I won't be at work and it came up
Mm,
after hours and we need to have office coverage, then that's appropriate. But just people texting throughout the day and calling me, it's a no for me. And I'm not in a situation where it's life changing
right.
or threatening. I feel like email works. You can send an email, kind of nice. I do not care, off hours, whenever. However, I'm going to respond during work hours. And for me, if I
Mhm.
feel like I need to respond immediately because I have a busy day or I think I may forget, I'm going to schedule for that email to actually be delivered during work hours.
Hello.
So that is already setting like you sent this at 2 a.m., but you're going to get a response somewhere between 8 and 5. And so, you find those workarounds. But I think that's a great example, especially in our current climate
Yes.
where we're working from home, or it's high flex or whatever term they want to use, people really feel like I need to have full access, whether it's true intentions or just to have accountability.
Because
Yeah.
what happens is you don't have boundaries, and then you start to respond to people who don't respect the boundaries because you haven't fully put them in place appropriately, and then you get what? Burnt out.
Yeah.
And then you're mad at everyone.
Everybody.
There's no joy,
Everybody.
there's no energy. You just feel like you're being dragged
Yeah.
all over the place. So I really appreciate the
Yeah.
fact that you said that. It's very important to be conscious about it. And we know emergencies happen, right?
Right.
You
Right.
can't plan everything.
No.
There are times when you need to be available. We know, you boss ladies, how you take care of your business already. So we know that you're not a
Right.
slacker.
Right.
We know that you're not out here not communicating with your team. You're communicating with your team. So there are emergencies that need to happen, but every day is not an emergency when you're a boss lady
No.
because you handle your business.
Right. And I like what you said about that because sometimes people feel like everything's an emergency. Like if it reached the highest of the highest person, it's an emergency.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, actually, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not an emergency. It's not. It's not the end of the world. We will resolve it during normal business hours.
I love the
And
way you
yeah,
said that.
yeah. And then going into, if you're working at home, for some of us, it's all the same space. So really
Oh
knowing
my
for
goodness.
yourself, you may have a home office that may be in the same space that either, is your dining room, your
Right.
bedroom, anything like that. So I
Right.
think that's clear. Yeah. Thank you, Coach Kaya. I
Of
love that
course.
example. So help us out, those of us who are single and out here dating, how does that look? Boundaries. What does that look like for those clients?
Very interesting.
Mhm.
So when you're dating, it's also very important to set boundaries. And this is even from your online profile.
Mm.
Even let's say you decide to do some online dating, we know that that is probably the number one way where people meet, and also meeting in life. So right away, people are trying to figure out who you are and what they can do, how they can work with you, how they can get with you, how they can interact with you. And so right away, people are taking notes on your boundaries. So there it is, the first call. Are they texting you? Are they picking up the phone? Are they asking you for inappropriate pictures? All of this matters how you respond. It matters how you respond. If you say LOL, they like, cool, I'm about to send you some more. If you say, excuse me, that's not the way I want to be communicated with. I would appreciate having a phone conversation with you first, or I would appreciate texting first, or hey, let's just text back and forth for a couple of weeks. I want to get to know you that way. It's okay to say, here's how I would like to get to know you so we can build
Mm.
trust. Right up
Mm.
front. Because people appreciate boundaries so that they don't have to guess. There's so much guessing and people may not believe this, but dating makes you feel very vulnerable. So the more communication, the better. The more communication, the better. I always say when you're dating, it's best to over communicate because you can always pull back. But if you start over communicating after having no boundaries, it becomes where
Mm.
people take it personal. Now you're just coming from me because you never said this before. I've been talking to you for 6 months. It just becomes like, okay, so now it's a personal thing versus this is your boundaries. So own your boundaries. That's what I say. Own your boundaries from the beginning so that you don't have to create new boundaries way after the fact.
All right. Well, I learned something today, clearly. I mean, not that I'm online dating.
Let's be clear.
Right. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about the boss ladies out there. I mean, that was very helpful. And again, no one knows your playbook unless you share it.
Right.
You know what you like. Your love language.
Right.
Your expectations. But if they're getting to know you and you're not open about that, you can't get mad at someone who doesn't know.
Very true.
Right? But then once you tell them and you tell them again and then they don't do it.
Once you tell them, you have to stick to it.
Yeah.
And you have to gently remind people, and then you watch whether or not they're able to respect your boundaries or not.
Right.
And if not, you have to make a decision in honor of your own boundaries.
Right.
I'd like to talk a little bit about boundaries and friendship. And so one thing I have noticed is that it's so easy to want your close friends to be there for you, whether or not they have the capacity to do so. And I think that's a boundary. And we have to normalize it being okay to say, hey, can you talk right now? Or, hey, are you in a meeting? Right. Or, hey, I'm having an issue. I kind of need to vent. Give people a heads up. It's not cool if it's in the middle of their workday and you're having a full-on meltdown and you want them to stop, drop, and roll to support you. Think about other people. Yeah. We love our friends. We care about our friends. And so we also have to think about those kinds of boundaries. And if someone is doing that to you, I can give a personal example of this. I used to be fully available as a single woman. My life was just me. It was just me a lot of the time. And so I would just kind of like have office hours where come on over, lay on the floor, release your problems. It didn't bother me, to be honest. It did not bother me. And it wasn't for everybody, but certain people, like my close girlfriends, I just had that kind of availability. Right. Life changed. And then I found that I was in a space where I barely had time for myself. And there was this one friend in particular who continued to operate from the old perspective of what I was doing before. 3 a.m. calls that lasted 8 hours. I could no longer participate in that, but I can tell you that I said it a couple of times, but I didn't honor my own boundary because I was still feeling where I could. Because I'm like, I already said it. They probably remember I was different before. It was just like, it got really hazy. And what happened? Resentment. Because when someone consistently doesn't respect your boundaries, you consistently don't respect your boundaries. At some point, you just start to resent the whole relationship and you just want out. So this example is being shared because we love our friends and we want to make sure that we communicate, honor our boundaries before we get to that point. Yeah. Right? Because if you can salvage the relationship, great. If you can't, you know that you did everything in your power to communicate and they just weren't unable to respect your boundary. And that's also okay. Yeah. I like that, Coach Kai. And thank you for sharing that personal story. I have a similar where it's just, I was not in a place. I personally was not in a place to really take on anything else, And not that I wasn't trying to be a good friend to my close circle, but I just was not in a place. And, I communicated that. And so, I pray for people. And I'm not saying that to be sarcastic or anything. No, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Like, sometimes that's all you can do is pray, send love and light,
obviously, if anyone's on the side of a road or something, I would definitely, go and get them. But some people have chronic concerns, problems,
Patterns.
patterns that despite the best advice, they're still going to do things their way, which is their
And
prerogative.
have every right to do that.
But I choose not to be a broken record. So again, setting my own boundaries.
Yes.
And so that we can have a healthy friendship, but being available when I have space and time to be available. And that was a huge change, and some people accepted it and others didn't. And that was okay. And I was okay with that being okay, which was huge.
That's huge. Because you have to recognize when your boundaries change, your relationships may not adjust and your relationships will change as a result. And I love that you said that, Monica. You said, I set a boundary and I was not forcing anyone to honor my boundary. I gave you a choice. Either you will or you won't, but I accept you and I love you and I am happy with your decision.
Boom. Boss Lady Conversations with Monica L.
And your girl, Coach Kaya.
We love you.
So we want to share. We hope this conversation, first of all, supported you in learning more about your boundaries, inspired you to sit down and really think about your boundaries, to look at your relationships and know whether or not they honor the boundaries that you currently have, if you need to switch things up. But the first step is we want you to write it down in your Boss Lady Manifesto journal. Write it down. Think about your boundaries. Write them down. We have an affirmation that speaks directly to honoring your boundaries. And that is affirmation manifesto number 33. I commit to maintaining healthy boss lady boundaries. Again, I commit to maintaining healthy boss lady boundaries. So there it is. We want you to write that down. We want you to really think about, jot down what your boundaries look like. Think about the boundaries that you want to change. Think about the patterns in your life. Are your boundaries currently working for you? If not, you get to make the change. We hope that this conversation has empowered you. We hope that you have seen yourself in our stories, because we really want to let you know we're being vulnerable, sharing our stories, sharing our life journeys. We know you can relate. This is an intimate conversation. There's no judgment here.
No.
And all it takes is you being willing to make that decision and make the change.
Thank you.
See you soon.